DoD Instruction 5419, Public Affairs, U of the Artificial Intelligence Office, Public Affairs, U of the Artificial Intelligence Assistant Secretary of the Defense Public Affairs, July 28, 2025. Generally available directive of the Division website. Sean Parnell, Assistant Secretary of Defense of Public Affairs, and according to the authority of the Department Directive 5122-05 is issued with the established policy assignment of the to provide proceed with appropriate use artificial intelligence capable of the conduct of the DoD public affairs of the activities special with the mostly governing framework that include the policy limitations sure of the AI capabilities with the responsible appropriate oversight of the transparency of the Department of Defense public affairs activities. General issuance information of applicability policy with the responsible Assistant Secretary of Defense Secretary of the Defense Public Affairs, Department of Defense CIO, CDAO, Assistant Secretary of Defense Privacy, Civil Liability, Civil Assistant Secretary of Defense for Privacy, Civil Liabilities and Transparency, Director of Defense Media Activity, Office Secretary of Defense, Department of Defense Component Heads. Perceive the guiding principle, mission, relevant, understand, benefit, limitation, uphold legal, ethical standard of the product, take privacy, liberal, civil liberties, secure of the responsible AI use, transparency, oversight, generative AI, governance, glossary, acronyms, definition, references, generative AI, notice, decision matrix, use of generative AI capabilities, and PA, public affairs activities. Section 1. General Issuance Information Applicability. The issuance apply with the Office Secretary of the Defense Military Department's Office of the Chairman of the Joint Chief of the Staff of the Joint Staff of the Combat Command of the Office of the Inspector General of the Department of Defense Agent for the DoD Field Activity of the Organizational Entity of the Department of Defense for collectively in the issue of the Department of Defense components. The use of AI capabilities execution in the Department of Public Affairs activities include but not limited to disseminating timely, accurate information with the public and media engagement, contact creation analysis on public affairs of the activities for the Department of Defense communication objectives such as the public affairs support to operation in the information environment. It does not apply to the use of the AI capability for the non-PA with the Department of Defense activities policy. In accordance with the principle of information of the Department of Defense Directive 5122.05 of the Department of Defense Public Affairs activity contributes to the Department of Defense objective of communicating timely, accurate with the news of the information brought with the Department of Defense activity with the news media, the domestic and international audience, limited to the applicable statutory regulatory policy requirements including the Secretary of the constraints set forth with the Department of Defense Instruction 5201, 5248, 523009, 523029, and with the volumes 1 through 3 of the Department of Defense Manual 520001. The lawful, ethical, responsible security authorized AI with accordance with the Executive Order 13960 with the 14179, Department of Defense Directive 5122 with the 05 of the other applicable laws and regulation policies can support with a wide range of public affairs of the activity to provide timely, accurate information and sense that the public and the news media may accept the understanding of the national security, defense, and strategy. The Department of Defense will act with the appropriate level of judgment and care while remaining responsible for development and deployment of the AI capabilities consistent with the February 21st, 2020 Secretary of Defense Memorandum. May 26, 2021, a deputy of the Secretary of Defense Memorandum, the Department of Defense responsible for the artificial intelligence strategy for the implementation pathway. The Department of Defense components may use the AI capability of the public affairs of the activity to enhance relative and the Department of Defense personal ability to communicate with the internal and external audiences. The Department of Defense components must have the relevant DoD personnel verify the appropriateness of the releasing of the official DoD information prior to the release through the public affairs channel with accordance with the principles of information of the Department of Directive 5122 with 05 of July 12, 2025 of the Chief of Digital Artificial Intelligence Officer of the Memorandum. Section Department of Defense Public Affairs activity may only leverage AI the capabilities in ways upholding and enhancing the DoD credibility. Use the AI capabilities in connection with the Department of Defense public activity comply with existing with the Department of Defense component with the cybersecurity, information security, privacy, operation security, acquisition AI specified policy guidelines included but not limited to Department Directive 520502E, Department of Defense Instruction 5200-01, 5248, 5411, 8500-01, 8510-01, Department of Defense Manual 520101, Department of Defense Directive 5411R on August 23rd, 2023, the Department of Defense Chief of the Information Officer, the Memorandum of July 12th, 2024, the CDAO, Chief of Digital Artificial Intelligence Officer, the Memorandum. Let me look at that one more time. Chief Digital Artificial Intelligence Officer Memorandum. Section 2, Responsibility. Assistant Secretary of Defense of Public Affairs. The Assistant Secretary of Defense Public Affairs of the established policy for the Department of Defense, each of the AI capability with the public affairs activities. Provide governments mitigate the risk associated with the use of the AI capability to prohibit the use of the AI capability with the public affairs activity determined with the coordinated with the other relevant office, Secretary of Defense component, military, civil, the joint staff of the combat command to pose the risk, significant risk of the Department of Defense credibility, ability to provide timely, accurate information, public and according with the procedure of the paragraph 32D1 through 32D6. Department of Defense CIO, in accordance with responsible paragraph 2, the Department of Defense CIO with the policy provides policy statement of the guidance for the Department of Defense Information Enterprise with include the communication system cybersecurity, command and control in accordance with the Department of Defense Directive 514402 with the Department of Defense Instruction 85101 in accordance with the Chief of the Digital Artificial Intelligence Officer with the defined with the metadata requirements of AI generated content with the support and operative creation of the management each of the record with accordance with the Department of Defense Directive 501502. The Chief of Digital Artificial Intelligence Officer of the addition of the responsible paragraph 2 with the Chief of Digital Artificial Intelligence Officer to develop the policy guidelines for the Department of Defense component regarding data for the analytics or an artificial intelligence initiative for the Office of the Management Budget Memorandum 2521, 2522 for the Department of Defense Directive 510589, other applicable laws, regulation, policy. Assistant of the Secretary of the Defense Privacy and Security, Civil Liberty of the Transcript and Transparency Assistant, the ATSD PCLT or Privacy Assistant Secretary of the Defense Privacy, Civil Liberty, Transparency with addition of the responsible paragraph 2 of the Assistant Secretary of the Defense and Privacy, Civil Liberties and Transparency with live of the DoD components on the matters concerned with the privacy, civil liberty, transparency relating to emerging technologies, including advancement in AI, advise the procurement of enterprise-wide technology contained within processing personal identifiable information, provide guidance for the appropriate management of the protection of personal identifiable information of the public affairs activities, and the Director of the Defense Media Activity under the authority of the direction and control of the Assistant Secretary of the Defense of the Privacy, Civil Liberties, Transparency. In addition, with the responsible paragraph 2C with the Director of the Defense Media of the activity responsible for the integration of the issue of the curriculum of the Defense Information School. That's what you got. Office of Secretary of Defense, DoD Components Heads with the DoD Components Heads with the provide governance policy guidelines components with the compliance with and implements paragraph 1, 2, and section 3. Foster environmental invitation for the use of the AI capabilities public affairs activities while completing appropriate risk assessment with the Secretary of the Privacy and accordance with the Department of Defense components cybersecurity, information security, privacy, operations security, AI specific policy and guidelines comply with the additional Assistant Secretary of the Defense Public Affairs guidance for the issue within accordance with paragraph 2.1b and 32d1 through 32d6. Section 3, Procedure Guidelines, Principle of Mission Relevant Use of the AI Capability, Public Affairs Activities show that the hand of the DoD ability to provide timely, accurate information to the DoD components of the proprietary document instances where use of AI capabilities enable the more effective communication, more efficient AI with the last one on stenography, I don't know. AI capabilities should leverage automated with the PA task and improve the quality, reach, or reconnaissance of the accessible DoD information, improve the audience engagement, use AI capabilities, routine public announcement tasks should be prioritized to allow relevant and personal more time in the strategic task, benefit with the more time and attention from them. So what is underneath your sound card? Yeah. Understanding benefit limitation. They're not going to show in an open committee. So who the hell's behind 1984? Understanding benefit limitation of the DoD personnel understand the benefit and inherent risk of the AI capabilities and PA activities to help provide timely, accurate information, credible, maintain public trust. To build understanding of the public affairs personnel will remain current with the latest of the advancement of the best practice of the risk of the use of the AI capabilities. So we're looking at DoD telecommunication forms, and this, I don't align with AI at all. Components, and it must be started like late. Components will prioritize resource available to continuing education, artificial intelligence, advancement, best practice, risk, use AI capabilities to equip the public affairs personnel to leverage AI responsibly. Uphold legal and ethical standards with the project privacy and civil liberties. Use the AI capability DoD components public activities. It will be consistent with the applicable law that comply with the ethical standard according to the Department of Defense Directive 5507 Joint Ethics Regulation. When using AI capabilities, public activity to the DoD, public affairs of the DoD components protect with the privacy of civil liberties in accordance with the applicable laws and regulation policy, including the Department of Defense Directive 5411 and the Department Directive 5411R. Use of AI capabilities involving public available information, commercial available information, publicly identifiable related information, such for the media analysis, decision analytical purposes to comply with the applicable laws, regulation policies, including those issued with the CDAO, the ATS, the Public Civil Liberty key to trust, protect privacy, liberty, civil all of the data-related activities. So my thought on that is summarized informal proceedings pronounced as mock trials on persuasive television shows do not add up. So you violated me. Security responsible AI. The DoD components will coordinate with the component CI will determine which of the DoD owned AI tools may be used with the classified control the unclassified with the non-public information. DoD personnel may enter with the classified information control unclassified information, including personal protected information, protected health information. Information will be classified compliant, otherwise non-public information. The AI system authorized level of the classification control of the requirement to include with the query with the prompt input, and also when the Congress has said that they were going to bracket these. The classified, unverified with the non-public information according to the applicable laws and regulation policy, including the Department of Defense Directive 5200-01, 5248-170-01, Department Directive Manual 5200-01, commercial AI solutions outside of the Department of Defense control are not authorized for the non-public information. So why don't you be the kid's face of the try the kid's face? The kid has sometimes the kid has a face of God on. Department of Defense components will put security, privacy, safeguards, and place of the AI tool of the public activities, including requirements of AI tools both have the access, prior use, and air subject to continuous monitoring activities. According to applicable laws and regulations, the DoD policies in accordance with the Department of Directive 5411 and 8500-01, 8510-01, and Department of Directive 5411 and R of the Department of Responsible AI requirements. Any licensing agreement that reflectively applicable to data requirements of the Department of Defense component with the contractor will address the vendor you with the retention of the Department of Defense users data that include procedural protection, safeguard, and according to the applicable laws, regulation policy. Do you ever think of that spectrum? Do you have a personal qualification with the protective of the identity, public service liabilities for not only goddamn your telephone poles, responsibly usable AI capability, public affairs activity evaluated and coordinated with the Department of Defense, CIO, the Office of the Overseer of the AI usage, if you've been involved with the public identifiable with the information, DoD component privacy and civil liberties officer, which I would like. Compliance requirements for the document include the risk of the assessment of the decision coordinated for the DoD personnel will be aware of the output of the AI tool, for the inaccuracy, for the skew, of the errors, for the result of the due, among other factors, the errors, the limitation of the data you've developed and trained AI model. And according to the applicable DoD policy, when they coordinate with the vendor for the development necessary with the appropriate DoD personnel, well, where is their DARPA contract? Don't even do it. Identify sort of the characteristics, size, completeness, bias for the representation of the data you've developed to train the AI model. Identify with the probable effect of the risk accurate of the misrepresentation of the skew of the result of the model outputs. Efforts identify to mitigate the risk of the conducted prior to the use of the AI tool. 2. The DoD component coordinated with the key stakeholders of those of the equity of the information security, cyber security, privacy, civil liberties safely before the use identified with the document understood with the mitigation of the risk of the DoD component's office of the oversee with the AI use the decision to proceed. 12. Implementation plan to conduct ongoing monitoring for the potential of adverse impact of the performance of the security of the AI capability public affairs activities. Use of the AI capabilities involved with the public and identify with the information plan developed and coordinated with the Department of Defense component with the privacy and civil liberties officer. DoD personnel will consider the known source of the characteristic of the training with the data with the particular generated AI tool with the sufficient with the public areas for the purpose of providing timely accurate information and of the option with the better known of the data source should be pursued instead of based on the perceived level of benefit at risk of the generated AI tool for the public affairs mission. So then you're going to give it the so where is that radio chief technical officer with all the alibis and the libels? See, they're going to hold somebody liable for this, and DoD personal use AI tool for the public affairs activity recognize the repetitive of the parent AI tool for the output of the report, the new repetitive of the unexpected AI tool for the outputs of the prompt you with the generated through the output, through the command chain with the component with the chief CIO with the officer of the oversee AI use if different, with the repetitive the output of can indicate the compromise underlying AI model of the system and enable the proper function of the AI tools. It's all been fucked. in the last 13, 20 years. Generative AI capabilities can create with a new realistic content based on the data with which exposed with either the AI model training and the query inputs. And if you use the generative AI capabilities, PA active with public affairs, the activity according warrants additional oversight with the protect with the DoD compatibility in accordance with the paragraph 12C, 12D with the public trust with the Department of Defense with the public information provided with the may undermine with the official with the Department of Defense information releases to the public and with through the PA channel to show the posting to comments and declassification does not include the appropriate notice indicating that where applicable the generative AI must have you the generation of that information has been used to generate that information. Before you even generated AI capability generated information will leave the public component of the development implemented with the plan relevant to the Department of Defense personnel with the extra with the oversight with the approval of the generated AI outputs will include verifying the appropriateness of the release of the AI outputs for the public and affairs channel. The criteria may include with the applicable verifying with the statements accurately attributed with the person or organization confirming that reflect the source of the generally considered the authority on the topic with confirming with the information that has not been proven inaccurate with the outdated that may be the current sources. Oversight plan will be addressed. I find it fucked. Who will review, verify appropriateness, releasing the generated AI, upward the public activities of public affairs with the relevant the Department of Defense public affairs with the personal overseeing generated AI outputs will continually educate themselves on the risk of the opportunity in accordance with the paragraph 31B. B. A plan that provide appropriate transparency and notice for the use of the generative AI capability public activity when necessary with the protect the public trust of the official of the Department of Defense information according with the public paragraph 31E1. Generative AI capabilities may be used for the purpose of the other generating information intended for the release of the public if it is taking out the consideration of the benefits or limitation with a strong justification opposite with the contributed to public affairs mission in accordance with the paragraph 31A and 31B with the generative AI capabilities have then used the generated information for the release of the public of the personnel will provide appropriate notice for the use of the generative AI when necessary to protect public trust of the official of the Department of Defense information in accordance with the paragraph 31E with the paragraph figure 1 generally. The Department of Defense personnel will provide notice for the generative AI with the use of the creative with the content of the consensual with the content of the finally private with the misunderstanding with the current related to the information likely to occur without notice. The DoD personnel should control the providing notice for the generative AI used to edit with the consent and approve of the readability flow, not central to the content of the final product. The DoD personnel will provide, so all this has to be wrapped up under the normal mental health basic common strategy. The DoD personnel will provide notice of the use of any of the generated AI capabilities developing official with the Department of Defense information written with the public release such for the news release and article. The DoD personnel will provide notice of any of the use of the generative AI capabilities and developing official with the DoD information written public releases such as news release and article when the information be bylined or attributed as their creative work. Any notice will indicate the purpose of the extent of the use of the generated AI capability of the information from the review of the verified is appropriate for the publication release of the relevant DoD personnel before publication of the release. Example of notice will include with the figure 1 with the purpose of the extent of the generative AI use of the review of the verification by the relevant DoD personnel. Also will include with the description field of the product with the metadata, safeguard digital content provenance, and according with the National Archive of the Record of the Administrative of the Bulletin 2015-404. Metadata will include with any of the additional information on the format required with the Department of Defense CIO, with the CDAO, with the applicable the Department of Defense component, with the metadata, with the policy, with the Department of Defense public affairs personnel will be able to identify with any specific element of the product that were created with the generated AI, with if requested and not included, and if not included as a part of the notice. The Department of Defense visual information created and edited with the help of the generated AI, with the use of the public affairs, with the activity side, with the use of the generated AI, with a photorealistic depiction, with will be labeled with a photo illustration. Components will also note that the captions of the non-corrective notification enhancement to authentic visual and information with some of the DoD visual information does not mislead, deceive, and according with the Department Directive 504002 with the extent of the possible durable content credentials should be played for the Department of Defense visual information regardless of whether the generative AI was used with a good practice to preserve the digital content of the provenance over the Department of Defense information cybersecurity information sheet with the content with the credentials is available to the media to defense.gov of the 2025 January 29, 2003 63-4-4788 -1 -1 -1 -1 0 CSI content credentials PDF. and we'll look at that. And a photo illustration will not misrepresent the featured subject of the also video with the clearly readily apparent with the content of the visual information final with the image of the actual photograph. DoD personnel will comply with the prohibitions guided with the creating of the altering of the DoD visual information of the Department of Defense and instruction of the 504202 of the Department of Defense components carefully consider the use of the generated AI capability of developing DoD visual information used only when the most effective and efficient of the means to provide timely and accurate information. DoD Public Affairs of the personnel will be concerned with the use of the generated AI capabilities of the personnel will be concerned with the use of the generated AI capabilities of DoD visual information with the proper labeled captioning media data. Metadata will be viewed by the public list with the credible within the visual information that involves the use of the generative AI capabilities. The Department of Defense Public Affairs of the personnel will do who post and share the amplified information on the official of the DoD website with the social media account that will include the AI-related notices contained in the original content. Generated AI notice decision matrix. The criteria: the generated AI you would create with the content of the central of the AI you would create with the content central with the content of the final product, and then the next column will be generated to use to edit with the content, improve the readability flow with the not central with the content of the final of the product. Involve national security, sensitive to the operation, impact public safety, not required, notice recommended. Involve the routine operation of the non-standard communication with some of the public interest, not notice required, not notice recommended. Asterisk. Involve the routine operation standardization templated communication some of the public interest not notice required, not notice recommended. Always provide the notice of the misunderstanding content related to the information likely to occur with the notice of the content of it being attributed by line as creative work of the individual. Example of this information includes the elements of the AI generated content with which the review the edit of the relevant DoD personnel will verify appropriateness compliant with the Department of Defense policy and guidelines. Governance. If the Department of Defense components consider the AI capability of the public affairs of the activity comply with the board routed with the DoD with component policy with the guidelines converting with the overall responsibility use the acquisition act artificial intelligence capability information operations security with cybersecurity privacy in accordance with the paragraph 1, 2 with the 3.1a and the 3.1e with the DoD personnel will file with the Department of Defense component with the guidelines obtained with approval of the appropriate with the office of the air component responsible for assessing the approving the commercial and external sides of the Department of Defense network as of before you with the AI tool with the public affair with the activity in accordance with the Department Directive 8510.01. Department of Defense component with the here with the decision matrix with the figure 1 and 2 with the before you with the generated AI with the public affair with the activity alternative developed with the here with the component with the specific decision matrix with the Department of Defense component specific generative AI matrices will be consistent with the policy with the issuance of the may be more restrictive but not less restrictive than the direction of the outline in figure 1 and 2 with the DoD components with the will of the documented you with the generative AI with the public affairs activities provided with the feedback through the training with the command with the office of secretary of the public affairs that is required for the key with the area with the feedback included with the not limited to best practice of return on investment audience reach increased accessibility quality of the DoD information the risk mitigation procedure with the NU with the generated AI with the DoD component with determined pose with the significant risk of the public trust of the DoD information based on the DoD component feedback with the Assistant Secretary of Public Affairs Manager with additional guidance with the promote with the share of the best practice with the generated AI with the public affairs community prohibited with the specific use of the generated AI with the public activity affairs activities required with the extra risk of the mitigation steps in accordance with the paragraph 2.1b. Office of the Assistant Secretary, the ATSD with the public affairs with the alert with the military chief with the combat with the command with the public affairs chief with the director with the specific special assistant chairman over the joint chief with the staff with the public affairs with the about with the pros guidance with the chief with the air commandment before the implementation guidance in accordance with the paragraph 3.2d with 1 will be reviewed at least annually for the continued relevance and updated as necessary. Figure 2, decision matrix with you with the generated AI capabilities and public affairs activity with the consider you with the generated AI public affairs with the activity to address the question concerns with the information for the decision matrix with the flow of the consent outcome with the compliant with the DoD policy uphold with the principal information going with the Department Directive with the 51.2205 security privacy oversight with the generated AI tool with approve of the use of the DoD networks. You have to proceed with the question within this matrix with the ESNO with the DoD CIO over the responsible DoD component you with the AI capabilities with the here with the DoD policy requirement to determine if the DoD component with the person can you with the newly previously unapproved with the generated AI with the tools in accordance with the paragraph 3.2a and 3.2b with the DoD component privacy and civil liberties officer with according with the artificial intelligence you with the provided with the personal identifiable information as part of the coordinated with the proposed with the generated AI you with the public affair with the activities included with the documentation of the mission relevance outline in question 6 will only of the information approved with the public release be entered with the public into the publicly accessibly AI with the tools if yes and proceed with the the question of the matrix to provide with the use of the AI for the capability with the component of the Department of Defense component with the governance of the procedure, use the AI capabilities in component of the paragraph 32A and 3232C. If no use of the AI capability not permitted with the component of the paragraph 31D1 with the 31D2 with the discover the option with the DoD component CIA over the response for the overall AI policy and the guidelines additional coordinated with the components for the privacy with the civil liberty officer for you with the AI capabilities involved with the public identifiable information. If the generative AI tool has been tested to determine if the appropriate with expect for the public affair with the proposal with the clone with the paragraph 31D4 or the 31D6. If yes, proceed with the question in this matrix. If no, they do not proceed until the tool is evaluated, determined to operate with the expected with the public affair with the purpose before you with the ongoing with the basis of the tool that must be tested and monitored to validate with the tools meet with the acceptable level of performance against or identify with the measure of the public affairs and purpose for the clone of the paragraph 31D4 or 31D6. If any of the deployment with the tool does not operate with the expected with the determined and coordinated with the vendor of the developer how to improve the performance to meet expectation and retest of the tool before use. I am Gordon Summons anyways. If the plan of the ongoing monitoring even the generated AI tool to validate whether the tool is operating expected with the clone of the paragraph 31D4 whether you have to proceed with the question of the nature of the DoD personnel should conform with their chairman channel to have the feedback regarding the tool's operation in accordance with the paragraph 31D6. If no, do not proceed until the plan is conventional and continual evaluation of the development. If there is a plan with the relevant DoD personnel to provide oversight of the approval of the generated AI output for the clone of the paragraph 312 with the 1C, 31E, with the yes, proceed with the question of the matrix to provide with the oversight plan, the address of the below with the question information, the review, the verify with the appropriateness release of the generated AI with the output of public activity, public affairs activity relevant to DoD with the public activities personal oversee and generated AI with the outputs continually educate themselves on the risk and opportunity to come with the paragraph 31B. Oversight will include a plan to provide appropriate transparency notice for the above of the generated AI capability, public affairs with the activity necessary with the protect of the public trust and the official DoD information, according to the paragraph 31E with 1 through the 312E, A, and B. If they know before the use of the generated AI capability with the public activity with the DoD personnel to develop and implement the plan to provide oversight of the output of the relevant Department of Defense personnel with according to the paragraph 12C with the 31E with 1 through 31E2, A, and B. Mission relevant. Does the use of the generated AI capability contribute with the DoD providing timely accurate information more effectively than other capabilities? If the yes to provide the source of the validate with the generated AI tool with the tested capability of the prepared justify with the describe the how it will improve the public affairs with effectiveness as part of the documentation. And if you do not proceed with the use of the generated AI capability, public activity will be refined with the contributor to provide timely and accurate information more effectively than other capabilities incorporated in paragraph 31A2A1. So how about leave me alone for 15 days at a time with individuals? Does use of the generated AI capabilities align with the strategic public objective and the enhance the effective of the public affairs activity? Yes, proceed with the documentation AI capability supported with the public affairs. You should read the FBI, the DOIG, Deputy Domestic Investigation Guidance on the Enhanced, and the Title 42 videotapes, National EMC. NEMEC, enhancing message delivery, increasing audience engagement, automating routine tasks, expanded with the content reach of the paragraph 31A1. If no reconfigure AI tool will explore the alternative methods. You can start with the missing people for on the corner of the fucking television for fucking change. Can output of the generated AI tool with the intent of the release of the public to be verified appropriate for the release if the yes to the other requirements, paragraph 31E and 31A2 with the 31C, or the met with the use of the AI tool with the permanent with any official with the DoD information release for the public affairs of the channel will be generated in a way that allows it to be verified and appropriate for the release, such as the verifying statement that the accolade attributed to the person, organization confirming that reflect the source of the generally considered the authority within the top of the confirming with the information has not been proven inaccurate without outdated of Moore's current sources. If no information of the generated will not be released to public official with the Department of Defense information related to the public affairs channel that will be verified in accordance with the paragraph 12C. If the artificial intelligence tool with not being given the generated information intended for the release to the public use for the permitted to take any non-consideration beneficial limitation within the strong with the justification output of the contributed to the public affairs mission in accordance with the paragraph 31B and 31A. Visual information is generated by AI tool being used to produce alter visual information. Yes, proceed with the question 10 and 12 through 12 with the no question with the 10 through 12 with the not applicable with the visual information properly labeled. Yes, proceed with the question 11. If the no use of the generated AI must be set with before proceed with the DoD visual information has been generated, modified with the generated AI with the site of the judge to label in the corner of the paragraph 31E26A with 31E6C. Photorealistic depiction with the label of this photo illustration metadata will include the citation of the using AI capability was carried out through any of the final product delivery of the DoD visual information preserved with the digital content prevailency in accordance with the paragraph 12E with the 31E5 and the 31E6. Is visual information photorealistic? Yes. Proceed with the question 12. If no, the use of the generated AI visual information permissible to properly label the illustrator with determined with distributed timely accurate information. Is the product liability confused with the photograph with the potential of mislead with the public and the featured subject with the yes with the visual information of the public affair of the activity must be reworked in a way so that the final product does not be confused with the actual photograph labeled and metadata that removed by another person. It does not restrict the photograph elements for being even the long shot of the generated elements for the readily apparent with the looking of the final product even without reading the label of the photo illustration. Like I said, with the missing people. If none of these with the generated AI with visual information permissible to properly label the photo illustrate the determined with the timely accurate information according to the paragraph 31A, 31E6A, with 31E6C. Our glossary: AI, Artificial Intelligence, ATSD, Assistant Secretary of Defense, Public Affairs, with the Assistant Secretary of Defense, Privacy, Civil Liberty, Transparency, Chief of Digital Artificial Intelligence Officer, Chief of the Information Officer, Department of Defense, Chief of the Information Officer, Department of Defense, Director of the Instruction Manual, Department of Men's Public Affairs, with personal identifiable information, and we're going to skip the definitions, and we'll go to the references. Chief of Digital Artificial Intelligence Officer Memorandum Guideline Guardrails to inform of the governance generated by artificial intelligence, joint ethic regulation of the Department of Defense standard for the conduct of the office, use of the Department of Defense responsible for the artificial intelligence strategy implementation pathway, the Department of Defense implementation responsible for artificial intelligence for the Department of Defense privacy program, Chief of the Defense Information Officer Memorandum, and with that, let's say 1984 was actually a Department of Defense program for the well, you stuck him in the hospital. That's some special piece of shit. Software Acquisition Path Integration Risk Management Framework. DoD Access U.S. Public Available Information. Chief of Digital Artificial Intelligence Officer, Assistant Secretary of Defense and Public Affairs, DoD Chief Information Officer, and DoD Operational Security Program Ethics Standard for the Contact DoD Records Management Program Visual Information DoD Information Security Protection Sensitively Compared from Department Information Control Unclassified Information Clear the DoD Information Public Release. Thanks, Obama. Secretary of Police Review Security of Police Policy Review of the Department of Information Public Release of the DoD Privacy Civil Liberties Program Online Information Management Electronic Messaging Cybersecurity Risk Management Framework DoD System DoD Information Security Program. Promoting use of the trustworthy artificial intelligence of the federal government, barely removing barriers for the American leadership of the artificial intelligence of the National Archive of the Record Administrator, the better guidance for the transfer of the permanent electronic records, DoD Dictionary, military associated terms, and performance inherent of the governmental critical functions, and managing information strategic reach over the budget, and memorandum our celebration federal use of the AI for the innovation governance of the public trust not. Driving efficient the acquisition of artificial intelligence within government artificial intelligence ethical principles of the Department of Defense in the United States Code Title 15 Section 9401. Who did read this? Can you figure me out?